Hello everybody! In this video I'm going to talk very briefly about the biology of aggression. Now, two hormones that have been heavily tied to aggression are serotonin and testosterone. All right, serotonin is a neurotransmitter, and testosterone is a hormone. Now, serotonin has been related to declines in aggression, so higher serotonin, less aggression. Serotonin is sometimes tied to our mood. So when we have higher serotonin levels, we tend to feel better. All right. When we have lower serotonin, we tend to feel worse. All right. Our mood tends to be more negative. And so we see how rises and falls in serotonin kind of track aggression. When we're not in a good mood, we're more likely to aggress. And this is kind of like, when in one of my other videos, I talked about how rejection causes a plummet in mood. Well, that plummet in mood would be associated with a decline in serotonin, all right, which would lead to greater aggression. Now, testosterone has traditionally been one of the hormones most strongly associated with aggression. Certainly, it's the one people think of the most. But its relationship to aggression isn't as straightforward as a lot of people like to treat it. So it's not simply a matter of the more testosterone you have, the more aggression you're going to have. That's not the case necessarily at all. Rather, testosterone seems to only be related to aggression in certain contexts. One of those contexts is whether or not a mate is present. All right, or not necessarily, not when a mate is present, but when aggression could help you get a mate. Okay, so in fact, there's other work showing that if a mate is actually there, we don't aggress. All right, but specifically what I mean here, and this is the challenge hypothesis of testosterone, when aggression could help you get a mate, testosterone levels are related to greater aggression. So, knocking off a sexual rival, right? People with greater aggression might do that more. So one context in which testosterone seems to be more related to aggression is in the context that in which aggression could help us acquire a mate or improve our chances of getting a mate. Another context is how challenged we feel. So the dual hormone theory of testosterone argues that in the presence of cortisol, which is another hormone, and cortisol is known as our stress hormone. So when we're worked up, we're worried, we're stressed out about something, cortisol goes up. All right. So cortisol is kind of our stress hormone. Well, when cortisol is present, as testosterone becomes more present, aggression actually drops. All right. But when cortisol isn't there, all right, as testosterone grows, aggression grows. Now, why is that? Well, you might think of it in terms of challenge versus threat. All right, these are two different states that are the product of encountering some kind of obstacle or potential threat. Okay, when we encounter some kind of obstacle or threat or challenge, whether or not we feel threatened or feel challenged is thought to be largely due to our evaluations of the demand imposed by the threat and the resources we have available to meet that threat. So if the demand is far beyond the resources we have to meet it, then we're thought to experience a threat. But if the demand is such that we think we have adequate resources to meet and overcome that demand, then we're said to feel challenged. Well, when we feel threatened, cortisol levels go up. All right. So when we're threatened, when we don't think that we can overcome the obstacle, we feel threatened, cortisol levels go up, and the more testosterone we have, the less likely we are to aggress. But if we're in a state of challenge, so we think we do have the resources to overcome the demand, and the cortisol isn't going to be there as much. And instead, as testosterone grows, we become more aggressive. Now, aggression is also somewhat related to assertiveness. All right, so maybe that'll help you think about it, because certainly assertiveness people want people to be assertive. They don't necessarily want to say, oh, we want aggressive people, but they have no problem saying, well, we want assertive people. Well, assertive is just being assertive is just being just displaying socially acceptable aggression. All right. You're imposing or fighting for your desires or goals. All right. So there we go. In this brief video, we've talked about at least 3 hormones and how they're related to aggression, and how, and at least with 2 of those, cortisol and testosterone, how they might influence one another. So we've talked about testosterone and how it's related to aggression. We've talked to, and I mixed myself up, sorry. We talked about serotonin and how it's related to aggression. We talked about testosterone at length and how it's related to aggression. So we talked about the challenge hypothesis. We talked about the dual hormone hypothesis. And the dual hormone hypothesis argues that testosterone has a different relationship to aggression in the presence of cortisol than it does in the absence of cortisol. Testosterone leads to greater aggression when cortisol isn't there, and testosterone leads to less aggression when cortisol is there. The challenge hypothesis argues that testosterone's primarily only related to aggression when that aggression could help them acquire a mate. All right, there's your brief, less than 1 minute summary of everything we've talked about. All right, guys, that's it for this video. As always, if you have any questions, let me know. If not, have a great week, and I'll see you later.